back to another episode of the Father's Gospel Podcast. Like always, we got a good one today. We got Marc Fishman. Marc, did I say your last name correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Marc, welcome to the show. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know a little bit about your background and why you're here.
Thank you, Cadell. Thank you for having me. And thank you for advocating for this cause, which is so important to so many of us. I'm a disabled father in New York of four wonderful kids who has been tortured and maligned, discriminated against, and denied access to my kids in forms of parent alienation and what we call disability parent alienation. And like you, I fight to get my kids restored every day and took my journey to federal court, which led to an attorney general investigation, which is where we're trying to expose and tell the truth and stop other, good fathers and mothers from going through something similar by going on shows like yours to really expose what goes on, behind the scenes, especially with the fall records that we got.
Right. So you got
It's a good
four
time.
kids. You got four kids. You're now in this federal case. How did you get to where you are now as far as being in this federal case? And yeah, I mean, how'd this all happen? What started all this?
Sure. Excellent question. So basically, I was divorced in 2012. Had a pretty uneventful divorce. We got shared custody. And then I was in a car accident in 2013 where I was hit from behind by a speeding van dropping my kids off on a drop-off line at school. My daughter had a bruised knee. My son, car seat, got cracked in half. The other two kids weren't with us, but basically for me, traumatic brain injury, concussion, occipital neuralgia, which is 7 nerves in the rear of the neck. You heard of carpal tunnel syndrome. You ever hear of cubital tunnel syndrome?
I've heard of carpal tunnel, but not
cubital, my friend, is the elbows. The nerves lie in the elbows. They get squeezed to the bone, and you can't feel these fingers.
Okay.
So I had that, and from two accidents in 2013, and torn rotor, sprained knee, broken toe. The bottom line led to 24 surgeries and 2 implants. I have a neurostimulator in my right chest and one in my left. The one in my right is for pain. You can't be on opioids for this stuff, man. I mean, it'll kill you. So I have a massager that massages my head 24/7 and takes away the vertigo. And the
is that massager? Is it implanted in you or
correct? So here is the neurostimulator.
Okay.
The wires go up the neck. The leads are in the back, connected to nerves. And it's
cool.
called
cool. That's okay.
It's called a neurostimulator, and I charge it, with this, every 3
Does
days.
It help?
It is immensely helpful. It's my second one. I've had it. Each one lasted. This one lasts 7 years, and basically allows me to, watk without a walker or cane. I don't get the dizziness,
dude,
the vertigo.
That is beautiful.
It is. And then you have normal liver readings because you're not on these opioids, which just make you so damn tired. In addition to just exacerbating neurofatigue. So yeah, what you would think is that a family court would be accommodating that someone like me took the initiative to have implants and go back to work and try to have a normal life with these devastating surgeries. I've had 24 surgeries and 8 implants. I have metal hips. I have wires in the head, neck, and chest. Instead, the ex-wife and the judge, who's like, "Oh, you're Frankenstein. You can't be with kids," and then subject to ridiculous ridicule, so started
You're not
losing in
Frankenstein.
family
You're
court.
super dad. You're
Thank
super
you.
dad, man, with all those surgeries and everything else. Yeah, no.
And you're super Codell. Thanks for spreading the cause and the gospel and the whole thing. It is unbelievable. I mean, can you imagine walking into a family court and the judge says, "You have bloodshot eyes. Have you been drinking or do you do drugs?" I said, "Your Honor, you've seen my toxicology reports and my neuropsych reports. I have a sensitive liver. I don't take pills. I have electric stimulation." "Well, I don't believe you." "You know what? Go in the back. My three staff members are going to watch you urinate, and we're going to do a test to see if you're high." I mean, we're not going to find anything. Comes back and she reads out in public. Oh, look, the drug test is negative. Oh, we can proceed with family court. What about the drug tests for the ex-wife? Oh, no. Your Honor, forgetting about HIPAA rules, you're discussing my private health in an open courtroom. What about drug tests? No,
Right.
well, she don't need one. I mean, come on, Codell.
Y-
That sums
Yeah.
up ridicule for us dads. Oh, disabled dads,
Yeah.
forget about it. Unlimited ridicule. Oh, but the ex? Oh, nothing. It don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
What judge
disparate
is
treatment.
this? Can you tell us the name of the judge?
Sure. The name of my judge is disability discriminating Michelle Shower.
Okay.
SCHAUER. Out of Westchester County, and it just miserable experience.
Yeah.
So you said how the federal lawsuit was born. So
Yes.
Judge Shower, in the midst of family court, after we went through the whole nonsense that you guests go through, the abuse allegations are unfounded. These are really good abuse allegations, Codell. This is really good ones. So I told you about the nerve injuries in my hand. I can't squeeze. So I
Yeah.
had nerve surgery in 2014. So the first charges to CPS was I strangled my 4-year-old twins. You couldn't strangle with nerve injury and carpal. It was in a sling. Strangle what? So CPS and ACS come out. I said, oh, there's bruises on the twins. I said, yeah, I picked them up from the gym, little gym in Eastchester. One threw apple juice at the other. I was putting sneakers on my son Sky, and Aiden threw something at him. So I didn't abuse anybody. And they said, "Oh, let's go see the videotapes. Go look at the videotapes. The kids were
Yeah.
roughhousing after they got out of a gym session.
Kids are gonna get bruised.
Unfounded in 4.5 weeks. But Codell,
Yeah.
oh come on, man, ACS and CPS because I live in New York City, so we got ACS. CPS was Westchester County. 2 unfoundeds, right? Oh no,
What is
we gotta go through
ACS?
4 years of torture because Judge Shower says I think you abuse these kids.
Yeah. What is ACS? Is that the equivalent of CPS or what is
Correct. That's
ACS?
the New York City version. So
Okay.
when
Okay.
you're lucky or unlucky, because I got to say my problems really weren't with those agencies. If you live where one agency is in the city and your kids are in another agency where the county is, you get 2 investigations. So I have 2
Right. You're getting
unfounded
tag
letters,
teamed.
2 sets of
Yeah.
cops that said I didn't abuse anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they couldn't testify
That's
at the family
crazy,
court
man.
trial because Judge Shower wouldn't allow. But she allowed the unfounded letter. But she said, "What does unfounded mean? I think you abused them." Didn't abuse anybody. I'm the abused parent.
Yeah. And that's the key word, I think. Well, your I think doesn't prove jack shit. So I mean, yeah, give me some evidence. Like you got nothing.
Well,
It's
evidence doesn't
crazy.
matter. That's just the key thing that
No.
you mentioned in family court, and I want to emphasize that. I did all these tests that they wanted. Psychological, social worker, neuropsych, okay, forensic neuropsych, right? They all said you had a head injury, you have a hearing problem, okay, and obviously all the physical injuries, and obviously memory. You're seeing me, a number of years after memory rehab. I was in full-time memory cognitive rehab at the Dr. Brown Center in New York City, 2 years. Because I would look at you and I said I don't know your name. I would look at I
Now,
would
was
look at
that because
my
of the
teacher would know his name.
accident?
Hmm?
Yeah, was the memory issue because of the
Correct.
accident
It's
or
called
okay, okay,
post-concussional
okay,
syndrome, right?
okay.
But to a judge, it'd be like, "Oh, you look fine. What does fine look like? What does a disabled person look like?" You know what I'm saying? So I'd show the judge. I said, "I have an implant on the right, the left. I have incisions here. I've had all these surgeries, and the judge, I have a memory problem." And the judge says, "You know what? I've seen all these reports, and the only interest I have is why haven't you done another one?" I ordered another one. I said, "Your Honor, I've done 19 reports. I spent $169,000 to try to prove to you I'm an amazing father and that I didn't abuse anyone and that there's nothing wrong with me except I'm disabled. I need accommodations." And she said, "Mr.
It's
Fishman, your memory impairment belies the record." And I asked you, she said, "I asked you, I told you there were no gifts, no gift giving to your kids, okay? Because your ex-wife had testified that your excessive gift giving interferes with her parenting." What excessive
so
gift
they
giving?
were restricting you from giving your kids gifts as well?
It wasn't just me restricting my daughter from going on the Amazon account to buy bras for herself or buy stuff for the kids, and blaming me. Yeah, ridiculous, ridiculous. This is what
Yeah.
they do. So it
Right.
gets worse. So here she is, and she says, "I see you sent gifts, for Easter, Passover, July 4th, the kid's birthday. I told you that you were not to send any gifts for those 6 months." I said, "Your Honor, I don't remember, half the stuff that you say in the courtroom. You deny my note taker. You won't let me have a tape recorder in. There's no stenographer. It takes a year to get a transcript." I said, "I asked you to have my aide come in to be a stenographer, take notes. You said no. So I don't remember. But I have these 3 orders in front of me that all said I could send gifts on holidays." And I said, "I sent a gift on July 4th. I sent a gift on Memorial Day. I sent a gift on Eastchester. There's 4 kids. There's a lot of gifts." I said, "And my relatives sent. You know, I didn't break any order." "No, Mr. Fishman, let me read the March transcript. I told you there were no holidays the next 6 months. You sent gifts anyway. Go to jail, 3 weeks, contempt of court, no bail."
Yeah, it's so insane. And it's the same freaking story over and over and over that I hear what I've gone through, what you're going through. It's slightly different versions, but it is the same play over and over. They just drain you financially. They threaten you with jail. They throw you in jail, try to take away your license. I mean, it is they hit you on every single front. And these people are criminals, man, and it's just it really pisses me off because I mean, I don't wanna go too much into my story because it's not about me, but I mean, the CPS stuff drives me crazy. I've dealt with CPS in Oregon and Washington, and I mean, I'm only up here in Washington because my kid it took me a year and a half to find my kid, found him here in Washington, so I came here to Washington, and it just the whole entire system is so freaking bad, dude. We've gotta get this fixed now so we don't pass this on to all these little especially little boys. It's hurting the little girls and women as well, but obviously it's having a more direct impact on men and boys. So, but anyways, please go on. So,
Listen, you said it, and I wanna compliment CPS and ACS. I'm in real estate manager, and I've dealt with them a lot. In my case, they were basically the parties that provided the immediate evidence. I didn't do this, so I had dealt with them in the case of some troubled tenants, commercial tenants, residential tenants in New York over my 30-year real estate career, and so I knew with CPS once they started their investigation, Cordell, deal with them right away. Okay,
yeah.
they were saying, "We're concerned you had a head injury. We're concerned about records." I said, "Okay, you want records?" They said, "Yeah, we want records. Give us a HIPAA release." No, Cordell. I brought 2 assistants, a hand truck, 4 trans files, a power of attorney, 6 releases, and authorization to
Nice.
call every goddamn doctor to them,
Yeah.
and had it unloaded, put it on a conference table, had the supervisor in there, okay, and the investigator, and then my daughter calls. My daughter,
Yeah.
who in 2014, God bless her, was 9 years old, and I put her on speaker. I said, her name's Joanna Dora Fishman. I love her. Okay, Joanna, I'm here with the investigators. They're asking if your daddy ever hurt you or your brothers. Can you answer the question for them? And on speaker. She says, "Oh, daddy is such a kind, loving person. My daddy will never hit anybody, never has. He's a wonderful daddy." He says, "Mommy lies because mommy wants to get daddy in trouble, but he's a really good daddy. And, I think you should know that." So, the supervisor shaking her head like this. My 2 workers who carried the French files are going like this. And the supervisor, then talks to Joanna and says, "You know what, Joanna, we're going to come see you tomorrow. Oh, I hope you do. And can you bring me one of those cupcakes like the last time? But bring a chocolate one and bring one for my 3 brothers because it's not fair if I get one and they don't get one. We gotta have evensies." And then she said, "I'll bring you 10 cupcakes and I'll see you tomorrow." And that was the fastest unfounded letter since Superman flew over the earth.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, where are you with your kids right now? Are you able to see your kids? I mean, how's that whole situation? Hopefully that's going good.
Nope. So what happened, Cordell, was basically they criminalized my parenting. What
Okay.
happened after that jail experience was that I was put in jail hospital. My implants are explosive, so Westchester County Jail has metal detectors every certain number of feet. I go on those heat up, and they'll explode. They'll die. I could die, or you get a shock. So I was put in jail hospital. And in the jail hospital, you know, I had a full-time nurse and doctor, and waking up every 3 hours for blood pressure and checks and other stuff. And basically, you know, in the report, they put exactly what the judge said: in have memory problem, hearing problem. So while I was there, I helped other prisoners get accommodations. I got visited all the time. I was never in a jail before. There was no criminal charge. There was no bail, you know. And what I can tell you is I started to write accommodation requests and started to write my federal lawsuit pro se, suing the
Nice.
court system and eventually the judge and the executives for disability discrimination, failure to accommodate, retaliation, okay, and associational disability discrimination because one of my kids is autistic. So discriminating against him, his rights, because you took away his dad for that period of time.
Yep.
And you know, I'm happy to tell you that as a result of that lawsuit in 2018, you know, we had a couple years with the judge who would not dismiss it. You know, because here we have a situation again, simple failure to accommodate. So you take out the word family court, you take out the word CPS, you take out the word custody visitation. Disabled father not provided with accommodations by state. That's it. Okay, and guess
Yeah.
what? You know, 33% of the docket federal court is ADA, is disability. And when the other side went to ask to permission to put in their motion to dismiss after our first 6 months in court, the court system, the court administration, the judge said no. Why did you deny a note taker? Well, we didn't deny a note taker. The judge did. The judge said, the federal judge said, who writes her paycheck? Oh, we do, but we can't control what she does. You can't control access to your courtroom. You sign her paycheck. He couldn't bring in a note taker. His note taker was blocked. And you see the list of memory impairments, the implants he has? No, you can't file dismissal. Or when can we file dismissal? This is my courtroom. You can file dismissal when I give you permission. You have no permission. Mr. Fish, you continue with your lawsuit. Would you like to amend it, Your Honor? Yeah, I'd like to amend it, Your Honor. I've learned a couple things like you can amend it. Office Court Administration, are you going to consent to Mr. Fish's amendment? No, we want to file a motion to this. Denied. Mr. Fisher, you can amend it. Can I have 30 days, Your Honor? Oh, yes, you can. Court Administration, we want to renew our motion to dismiss. Denied. He's going to have 30 days, you know. And so the bottom line is the way you did is you amend it, get more and more details of what happened, keep your paper trail. And eventually that
Right.
case got dismissed. We were pre-COVID. You know, I utilized closed captioning, so thank you for providing it to the bottom of my screen. The court system is by law required to give that. It's called CART, real-time transcription. They refuse to turn on. How am I supposed to remember when my neurostimulator cycles on and off and buzzes so I don't have hearing in the left ear while it's giving me electric therapy? You're not. But Mr. Fishman, you're not hearing impaired enough. Oh, really? Are you a doctor, Judge? Are you a biologist? Are you a nurse? You have medical training? And they say, do you want to go back to jail? I said, Judge, I'm not being disrespectful. You're telling me I can't have accommodations, but I have a number of certified reports from a doctor saying I have tinnitus. And that's the most filed disability for veterans in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've never been a veteran and I've never been at war except in this courtroom, Your Honor. But you were denying me with that documented condition hearing accommodation. She said, Mr. Fishman, you hear when you want to. So all this went to the federal lawsuit. Okay, pro se, right? Eventually the judge
Yeah.
dismisses and says, oh, you know, they have immunity. It's judicial immunity. Rooker-Feldman, Exxon, O'Shea case, we appeal. Okay, we go to the federal Second Circuit. By then I have an attorney. Okay, we put the application in for accommodations in federal court against state court. We put in 19 medical exhibits, hearing problem, memory problem, vision problem, burning eyes, writing problem, can't take his own notes. And I'm happy to tell you, Codell, I have an order. Okay,
Nice.
July
Okay.
16, 21, Marc Fishman against Judge Shower, Office of Court
Okay.
Administration, Chief Executive Nancy Barry, 7 other family court judges, the court clerk. The state court is ordered to provide accommodations for communications for Mr. Fishman's disabilities going forward, period.
That's
Okay,
good.
and guess what? Basically, that proves discrimination.
Yeah.
So if you know someone's disabled, and you've acknowledged they're disabled, and you don't provide an accommodation, you're a government, that's disability discrimination. We don't care why. We don't care about intent. And we don't care if it's on purpose. You knew someone was disabled, you wouldn't give them accommodation. In my case, it was turning a switch on so that the computer screens in the courtroom had closed captioning. No, we can't do it. We don't want Mark to remember. We want Mark to forget so he could just go to
Right.
jail so he could lose. Be
Yeah.
careful what you wish for. It comes and bites you in the behind, right, Cordell?
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's always funny when whether it's judges or cops or whatever, they don't want to wear body cameras or have everything recorded. And it's like, well, why would you not want to be recorded? Because you're actually protecting yourself as well as by having everything recorded. So, yeah.
It's
You
the
just
truth of the
really,
matter, which
yeah.
brings me to the second federal lawsuit. So Judge Shower, after 11 months of retaliation of not issuing a final order, issued a
Okay.
final order when I was in federal court. In New York, we can only appeal final orders in federal court. So her final order was supervised visitation every other week on Saturday, 10 to 5 with a supervisor. It cost me $500 a day. I can't drive. I need to hire a driver. You can bring a disability aid because my son's disabled and I'm disabled. It's 4 kids. It's a lot for 2 people. Okay, court, whatever. Okay, December 15, 18, we go to pick up my supervisor after she confirmed to visit. Okay, and we drove to Westchester, where my supervisor was constantly calling my ex-wife as to where to meet to pick up my disabled son for a visit. Okay, no response. The supervisor told us drive to the ex-wife's house. Okay, drove to the ex-wife's house, 4 houses away. Supervisor goes out, get my kid. Okay, after about 10 minutes, the supervisor comes back, refuses to give me my disabled son. I'm upset. Let's go to the police station. Make police report. Let's get a document number. I only have 2 visits a month and I'm not getting it. No. I've already
Right.
paid you $500. Already driven up here. I said, I don't play this game. I said, I didn't get a cancellation. I said, I didn't get a rescheduling notice. The agreement said if I missed a visit, it's canceled. If my ex-wife missed a visit, it's rescheduled for next weekend. I never got a reschedule. Went to the police station and I'm at the police window. Okay. And again, this was 7 years ago when I was really in bad cognitive shape. My memory was registering at 4% of a 44-year-old. You're talking now to a 52-year-old in much better shape, having done all that rehab. And basically, at the police window, Cordell, we asked for a police report. We asked to make an incident report. We asked the cops to enforce the visitation order. And I tell them, I said, this is my aide, Isabel. I need her. I don't hear too well. And she has my records and she carries my medical bag. And I need her as an ADA accommodation. Said it twice on video, right? No. Cop comes out, separates us, and begins interrogating me. And then it leads to a questioning where I say, here's my brain injury card. I need a note taker. I need my aide. She's called order. Bring her in. You're asking me to explain complicated orders. He then comes back in with 28-page visitation order. He says, this visitation order, is this you in the back? I said, let me see the back. Yeah, that's me. Okay. He says, I've never seen one that's 28 pages. I said, we've never been in front of Judge Shower. And he asked the supervisor, is this the visitation order? Yeah, it's a visitation order. So he said, Mr. Fishman has a visit every other Saturday. Yeah, and this is one of the Saturdays. Okay. Goes back and forth. Then he comes back in and he says to me, read the order. I want you to read and tell me what section it says you have visited. I said, I don't have my special cycloneuralgia sunglass reading glasses. I said, and I'm getting burning in my chest. I need my neurostimulator to adjust my settings. And I need a pen and paper because I'm not going to be able to read that. I'll try to write it for you with my good hand. And he says, no, you're going to read it now. I said, officer, I can't read this. It's small print. I need large print. You get me my aide, get me an interpreter, call a doctor, No, I start reading it. Massive headache, bloodshot eyes, cheeks pop out, rash. I go like this. He goes back out and he comes back in 10 minutes later. We're putting you under arrest for violating an order of protection. I said, violating what? I have a visitation order. Didn't care, nothing, whatever. So anyway, that led to lawsuit number 2. Failure to
Okay.
accommodate the cops. It was done
So
in
how
January
many
19th.
lawsuits are you in total? 2, 3? Like how many lawsuits do you have going right
I've
now?
only had 3 federal lawsuits,
Okay.
but this one is still going on now, 6 years and 3 months. This one
Okay. And this is
survived
with the police
with the
department and the
cops
sheriff
and New
with the
Rochelle who
cops.
failed to accommodate. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, what you just said is the whole thing. So here we are, Cordell, and I sue, and everyone's telling me you can't sue a cop. This was before Floyd. You know,
They always say that.
I
Yeah.
said, what are you talking about? He didn't allow my aide to come in. He's arresting me. I said, he didn't bother trying to read the visitation order. He wouldn't let
Yeah.
her read it. He didn't want to understand the situation. He didn't want to effectuate visitation. I mean, this is disability discrimination. He's the government. You fail to accommodate. You know, in his case, though, he's only got qualified immunity and limited. So as you're aware, Cordell, we were talking about this whole immunity chain, right? Qualified's the bottom of the triangle. Then we have
Right.
state sovereign immunity. That's the state employees. Qualified's the cops, the ambulance workers, the firefighters. Then we have state, which is state employees. Then we have judicial at the peak, right? Oh, we can't get
Right.
them on a special circumstance. Oh, this guy's qualified. He's not qualified for denying me access to my court-appointed aide in a police station when I'm not threatening, you know, and I just need my communication access, and I'm really not doing well physically. I'm breaking out hives, I'm sweating, really having a distressful situation, and he denies it. And so does his boss and supervisor and all that stuff. So the bottom line is, I sued under that, okay, and obviously learned a thing or two from the other federal lawsuit, which was still pending. So you know, make a long story short, we go to trial a year and a half, 2 years later. Okay, and it's right when the New York discovery laws are supposed to happen. This is a state court trial, suing me for violating order
Okay.
of protection. It turns out the order of protection was never given to me in writing. I was supposed to hear it verbally the same day she
Yeah.
put me in jail for the gift. Same day she put me in jail for gifts. I don't hear well. She had 8 officers surrounding me. She had leg irons. I had an ADA advocate. She didn't get the order. I had an attorney get the order. Oh, but my ex-wife got the order. How did they get an order? We didn't get an order. Oh, it was told you verbally. Told me what verbally? You know, you gave me an
Yeah.
order of protection with a visitation order. It's subject to visits. What's going on here? We never got this order. You guys know I never got this order. No.
Yeah,
So a
you don't
jury
just they
convicted
don't get to
me.
just verbally tell you. They gotta serve you documents. Yeah, it's oh man. So why I mean, why do you think they're why do you think they're basically so angry at you and targeting you? I mean, they're targeting dads in general, but why do you think they're going after you so hard? Just because you're fighting? I mean,
You said it, Cordell. When you expose the system, meaning when
yeah,
you pierce judicial immunity
right,
and getting an order in federal court saying the judge discriminated by not providing communication accommodation is no different than not giving a wheelchair to climb up, you know, the ramp. You make him
right,
use the stairs, or it's no
yeah,
different than not giving the um, person with a diabetes insulin in the court during the day when they got a 3-day trial, right?
right,
Um, or it's no different when you deny a blind person braille or interpreter, right? But to me, because
right,
my disabilities might be considered invisible, no, you don't need real-time transcription. You don't need your note taker. Cordell, I didn't say pay for the note taker. I didn't say pay for the tape recorder. I didn't say pay for the stenographer. I said, let me bring one in. No. Oh, but my ex-wife could bring in whoever she wants to courtroom, but your courtroom is supposed to be open. Disability
right,
discrimination. It doesn't matter if it's
yeah,
landlord tenant court, taxi court. This is every family court. But why are you doing this? You want me to fail. With auxiliary aides, I can do anything. Without them,
right.
I'm
Well,
dead in the water. So I
and
pierced
with the
immunity.
technology we have, there's just no excuse for there's no excuse for everyone not to have access to all their court transcripts, to any video footage. There's just no excuse anymore. Everyone should have automatic access to all that stuff.
You said it, and the law says we should. But again, if you're Marc Fishman and you sued the cops,
Right.
okay, oh, and you're in court, you ain't getting this stuff. So we had
Yeah.
our trial in state court. They found me guilty of violating
Yeah.
order of protection and um, attempting to violate. Wait, without camera footage, without audio. The officer didn't even sign a disclosure form saying whether they had camera audio. This is after New York's great enhanced discovery. You're supposed to get everything. Marc Fishman gets nothing. So the beauty of federal court discovery, my friend, the federal lawsuit against the cops survived. Motion to dismiss. We get to depose cops and we get discovery on cops. Just like you have a
Okay.
beautiful courthouse behind you, what did we do? My attorney dragged those cops into the federal judge magistrate's chambers. And you know, my friend, when they go through federal court security, you take off the badge, take off the vest, get rid of the gun, take off the bullets, get rid of the mace. No, no bat. You're just a man. Oh,
Right.
you go in the courtroom just like the rest of us. And the first
Yeah.
question my attorney says, where's the camera footage? And where's the audio? We've been trying to get it for 4 years. That's Discovery took 4 years to get Discovery with all the motion dismiss. And you know what he says? Oh, we just found it. It's in my desk drawer. It's been there for 4 years. Really? How much do you have? 9.5 hours. What? Oh yeah, on every screen there's 12. There's 12 pixels. There's 12 screens. You got 12. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Wow. So how come
Yeah.
you told Mr. Fishman? You told me that it didn't work, that the recording wasn't on, that it wasn't enabled, that there was no backup. Oh, I don't know. We just found it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in court. You bring the videos and orders back in, you know, and then you ask the cop, yo, cop, are you telling Mr. Fishman's aide over there that he didn't commit a crime? Yeah, that was me. Are you saying he didn't have malicious intent to commit a crime? Uh huh. Are you saying you don't think the crime was committed? Uh huh. So why did you withhold these cameras at his criminal trial?
Yeah.
Oh, attorneys, don't answer that. Don't answer that. We told you that we couldn't find it then. We find out, aren't these digital cameras and their recordings? Is they
Yeah.
so
Right.
so this led to now, okay, obviously, more enhanced discovery,
Yeah.
which then, as we found out, December 2024, well, my federal case still going, um, a massive internal attorney general investigation of this pattern misconduct, lying, abusing, false reporting cop named Lane Schlesinger, the only one in Westchester and one of only 34 in the entire state in the last 4 years to qualify for pattern police misconduct.
Yeah, I was reading about him on your website. Yeah, yeah, interesting guy. Yeah, no, it's crazy because man, my thing with obviously everything's been just so hyped up political last pretty much 10 years now, and the whole thing, with the cops, oh, are you against or do you support? I just kind of look at the cops like I look at all other groups of people, and my issue with the cops is like I don't think they're all bad, but I also think they hurt themselves because they do a bad job when they are dealing with corruption. They tend to not want to address it, just like they tend to try to cover it up like most other groups do, and it's just like, man, you guys kill yourself when you do that. Like, I'm not against you guys, but I'm also not super hardcore for you guys. Bad cops, let's get you out of there. Good cops, good job.
You said it. Let me say this: most cops are good. Okay, but let
Yeah.
me say this: if you're a disabled person and you ever have interaction with the cop, the first
Yeah.
3 words out of your mouth is, "I need lawyer." That's it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a communication disability, you're 20 times more likely to be misunderstood. You're
Yeah.
talking to the Marc Fishman after cognitive rehab, after speech rehab. The Marc Fishman
Right.
police station couldn't read 2 paragraphs out loud without having a massive migraine headache and bloodshot eyes and just like, you know. So, I went to a neuro-ophthalmologist. I got certain drops. I went for speech training. I learned to be able to breathe in and out of a nose. I couldn't breathe out of a nose since the accident. With
How
TM,
many how many years did it take? I mean, was it years that it took you to kind of get all your cognitive abilities back? How was that process, man?
let me tell you, I wish there was a one-stop shop fits all. In the beginning, the accident focused on pain, right?
Okay.
You have incredible neck and headache pain. You have bruising in your ribs. You have foot pain. You have this. Okay, so you're going for physical rehab. I'm talking to a psychologist. Okay. At the same token, who's doing anything for memory rehab? What was memory rehab? Is there memory rehab? You know, and so there was no overseer doctor say you should do this, you should see that. It wasn't until actually this family court case, Judge Shower, where she would torture me and she'd be like, Mr. Fishman, you dropped the kids off again 10 minutes late, you know, and I asked you why you dropped them off late. And you look at me like you don't remember what the hell happened last week. And you pissed me off. But when I asked you how the kids were at Epcot 2 years ago, you tell me in detail how your kids are entertaining everyone in the sushi place because Sky used a chopstick to stab the avocado roll, picks it up, and Aiden makes soup in front of everybody. And
So
you say it
did
with a
so did
joy.
the accident not really, so your memories before the accident, those are still pretty well intact, or
So every TBI, Cordell, is different.
okay.
Mine affected short-term memory.
Oh,
So when
gotcha.
you got
Okay.
a neuropsych test, the neuropsych is the memory test. It's done by a psychologist experienced with neurons and stuff. You,
Okay.
you look at it's like a 9 hour test where they focus on what you have wrong. In my case, I did so well on everything except short term memory. So
Mm.
short-term memory, I just told you, at 44 years old, when I was at 4%. 4% of a 44-year-old. You would think that all the doctors I had read the report would say, go to cognitive memory rehab. Again, you know what it was back then. I had neurologist, I had neurosurgeons. They're like, no, you're doing physical rehab. You're talking to a therapist. You're in group therapy. No. So what happened was mine would affect names, times,
Mm.
numbers. Like you would say, Mark, read back these 5 words after you said them to me a half hour ago, and I would smile. But I know you said 5 words. I don't know what the hell they were. Or you might tell me, bring the kids back at 3:20, and I might say that was 8:20. Again, it was this whole neurofatigue. And then, your name, I would look at you, and it exacerbated that. So it wasn't until um, I went to the head of neuro surgery at Albert Einstein Montefiore. I had to wait 6 months for an appointment to meet the head
Okay.
guy. And he's over there. He says, Mark, I've seen you, at that time it was 11 surgeries. You see you're doing better physically. The neurostimulator works. He's like, why are you here? I said, Doc, I just left my dog at the ATM room 2 days ago. For 45 minutes, I forgot he was there, and I walked home 2 blocks away.
Did you get the dog
I
back?
got the dog back, and everyone was feeding him, loving him. But Cordell, come on. I
Right.
locked myself out of my place. Like 4
Obviously
times
a
a day.
red flag for
I
yourself.
don't know where the car is. And then
Right.
I come home, and I can't find my phone. Okay? So eventually, he used that 5-word test. He said, Mr. Fishman, you need cognitive rehab. I said, you can help me with this? You know what this? Yeah. He's like, let's go to the computer. I'll get your name of 3 doctors. I went to Dr. Brown, and initially said, no, this is 4 years after the accident. We can't help. No fault's not going to pay insurance. And no, his doctor said, you got to put it through, his partner. And he said, the more you put into this, dude, the more you get out. We're open 7 days a week. You come, it's at least 4 or 5 hours. You're working on a computer, you work with a therapist, and really you're learning to grow new neurons. And it's
Nice.
remarkable
Yeah.
therapy, like from Sudoku, like looking at 2, Roman Empire paintings and seeing what's the difference in 20 seconds. Oh, one eyebrow is
Awesome.
green. Yeah, no, this stuff works. And Parkinson's and other
Yeah.
stuff. And you don't necessarily learn memories. You learn how to try quicker to remember what you've lost. So, for example, I'll talk about maybe like a movie star I knew, like in Star Wars, Han Solo, right? And you keep on telling
Okay.
me he's Chewbacca's partner. He's Chewbacca, like, and 30 seconds later, I'm doing my thing. And they're like, oh, that was Harrison Ford and Han Solo, right? But I couldn't do that in the first 4 years of the accident. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't,
Okay.
So again, for each
Yeah.
person, it's different. Mine was the short-term memory. And the short-term
Okay.
memory being so bad that these people in reports wrote these reports for Judge Shower and said he needs a note taker. He's not going to
Yeah.
remember.
And they
And,
just
and they
kept
said,
denying it.
right. And they gave the graph. They said, look at the testing course. He's not going to remember. You're basically saying you won't remember. He won't remember 2 sentences. Yeah, I'll tell you what he did 2 years ago. Yeah, he can figure out the math problem. Yeah, he can figure out the science problem. Yeah, he can do a complicated argument, but he's not going to remember names and times without memory aids. He should have memory aids.
Yeah.
Then, no, denied. Denied access to my courtroom. That was the federal lawsuit. With the cops, I couldn't have the aid. Why?
Oh man.
The aid was court appointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the bottom line is that, like you said, we had originally wrote the governor and the attorney general when the cop did this, and the judge,
And
and
this
they
was
said they would help.
Letitia James at the time because you sent me that
It
Letitia
was
James
Letitia
stuff.
James. Yep.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
was Governor Hochul, and before that,
Oh man.
it was Cuomo, and we actually got
Okay.
letters from Letitia James.
Yeah.
Back in 2000 and I think it was like 2021, 2022. I can't help you. We can't help you.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Of
You're
course.
investigating the guy. It was a 3-year
Yeah.
investigation. You think the right hand knew what the left hand? So let me tell you about this investigation, because a lot of people don't know about it, and it really is helpful. So everyone's heard about Floyd, the disabled black man that the cop killed, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows he's disabled. Not everyone lying flat on the ground would die, even with 3 big cops on you. But if you have a breathing disability and are drug impaired, yeah, you're going to die, right? So in New
Right.
York, the government reacted with the Law Enforcement Misconduct Investigative Unit, LEMIO. What that means,
Yeah, I was
Cordell,
reading
was
that on your website.
if you have 5 or more instances of severe misconduct in 2 years anywhere in New York, your police chief has to report you to the Attorney General for investigation.
Okay.
Started in April 21. Schlesinger was referred in January 22. within 2 years of my trial. We didn't know that. Matter of fact, at his deposition in October 23, him and the supervisor basically denied it. Basically denied that there was any disciplinary records or any kind of records or any kind of investigation. And the attorney general.
Now, sorry, were they investigating and you just were unaware,
Correct.
or?
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
And we believe it happened because, unlike a lot of police stations, New Rochelle City has private insurance. So New
Okay.
Rochelle City Insurance got a hold of Schlesinger and my claim, and then saw his whole history and said to the police chief and mayor, you better report him to this new LEMIO or we won't cover you going forward.
Oh, so that, okay. And I'm just trying to connect the dots here. Because they're private, it obviously puts more of a risk factor for them as a private insurance company versus if they were like a government insurance of some sort.
Correct, Cordell. So picture this way.
Okay.
If you sue New York City typically is self-insured, right? Good luck getting
Right.
discovery. Good luck getting the bombshell. With the insurance
Right.
company, it was my first motion to dismiss. We got discovery from them, and it turns out the order of protection that I didn't get that was verbal, that I was prosecuted on, that was 2 pages, right?
Yeah.
It had a 3rd page. Insurance
Okay.
company gave us the 3rd page. Hey, Cordell, guess what the 3rd page said that the jury
What?
didn't see?
What was it?
Party not served. Party not served. What's
Not
the DA's response?
surprising.
What is the DA's response? We don't care. It was told to him verbally. What?
Yeah.
You just said it. The law just says that it's not a binding order if it wasn't presented in a way that it could communicated so that someone understands it. Oh, we don't think he's hearing impaired. The DA is saying he's not hearing impaired. But the DA introduced that same neuropsych report and said I have tinnitus, ring in the ear, need a note taker, and my memory was 44% that year. From
when they were trying to tell the court that they told you verbally, I mean, when did they claim to tell you verbally? They said they told you this in a past court appearance, or
the
how did they
same
tell
day
you
Judge
verbally?
Shower locked me up. The thing I sued the court for, Cordell, was I sued him for transcripts.
Yeah.
Back then, before we had reform in the court system, to get a transcript was $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm on disability. I'm having trouble paying my bills. You're making me pay $2,000 to $3,000 for a transcript? Yeah, you're damn right. And then you had to wait. You had to wait for it. Now they made transcripts rates lower and a quicker turnaround. Back then it wasn't. So we got the transcript. And of course, what did the transcript say? The transcript said, Mr. Fishman is sentenced to 3 weeks consecutively for violating the court's order of sending gifts to his kids on days that the court deems are not holidays. Okay. July 4th, Memorial Day, Easter and Passover holidays, right? And Mr. Fishman is to stay away from his ex-wife, and kids' school and ex-wife workplace, except EXCEPT, except limited supervised visitation. Oh, yeah. Judge, you're going to dismiss the case now because we don't have that transfer trial. No, you're guilty. Okay.
So is your, I mean, okay, so obviously you got all this going on with the courts. I mean, is your ex-wife, is she helping drive all this bad crap that's just getting thrown at you, or is she just kind of, is she not really participating in any of this? I mean, what's her role in all this? Or does she even have
you know, Cordell, I've been fighting more years than I was married. I was married 10 years. And this fight in family court has been going on since 2012. I thought I'd have finality with a divorce. We were divorced in August 2012. Before the divorce judgment was even recorded, she ran back to family court and complained that she didn't have a law guardian for the kids, attorney for the children. And
she's been going out of her way trying to keep you out of the kids' lives,
right? And void the visitation and joint custody through any and all means necessary. And you know, she's got a huge part in this. And keep in mind, one of the things we got in federal court discovery was her audio with the cops. Oh, which we were told also didn't exist. This gets even more interesting, Cordell, right? But it doesn't exist because we don't keep recordings.
Tell me more.
Because Marc Fishman sues the cops and sues the judges. There's no recordings. Okay. I didn't know there was a constitution for everybody. Oh, but there's not for Marc Fishman. Screw him. Okay. What does it say? Her police call the cops. Oh, I'm calling in after that visit, right? And she says, my ex-husband, okay, is coming near the house, and he shouldn't be here because it's not his visit day. And the officer says, okay, miss, can you give us your address? She gives her address. And she says, so we want to confirm this. Does your ex-husband have a visitation order, or is it a complete stay away order? She says, ma'am, it's a complete stay away order. Cop says, once again, you said he had visitation. I want to ask this again, miss. This is very, very important. Is it a complete stay away, or is it subject to visitation? It's complete stay away. She says, but then I don't want him arrested. I just want to know to family court. Cordell, she just committed
Great
felony in New
lying.
York. Just committed felony in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because on the written report, she says I committed a crime. On the written report, she says I went on her property. On the audio call, I didn't. Right? At the trial, she said I was on the border. But on the video call, excuse me, the audio call, you know what she tells the cops? So where is he? Oh, he's 4 houses away. He's 4 houses away. Did he call you? No. Did he text you? No. Did he send you a nasty letter? No. Did he go on your property? No. Did he grab the kid? No. Did he physically? No. She says, but I want it noted for record because I want to use it in family court. Huh? Wait a second. But we didn't have that discovery. So
Right.
at the trial, and obviously what's coming out now is through all this, okay, which is I never had a full stay away order. Every order was subject to visitation. So she committed a crime. She committed a crime. Along with last year. She conspired with them. Had she not called it in, there wouldn't have been arrest. Had she allowed the visit, it would have happened. But I got to tell you, in all honesty, I don't even remember being married to her. I actually think that I was married to Judge Shower, and I got a divorce when federal Judge Karras in 2018 ended my case with her. I got to tell you, I have nightmares of Judge Shower, not nightmares of my ex.
Yeah. 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 You think Judge Shower's still behind the scenes trying to pull some little strings or what?
Oh, my friend Cordell, she's not behind the scenes anymore. So, fast forward, once the violence court, we have violence court in New York. It's called Independent Domestic Violence Unit. Found out about the cop and then the second cop. Okay, I was discharged from violence court. And I was supposed to go back to family court in February and have a new family court judge, okay, to hear charges of parent alienation. The magistrate issued an order crediting $50,000 of child support and ordering a parent alienation hearing, okay? And then Judge Shower swoops in and takes the case. No transfer order, no recusal, and takes me back to her chair. How is this possible? Why do you hate me so much? What authority do you have to do this in? And then what does she do? She terminates my access to kids' education records. How? Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
She says because one of the kids' teachers texted me that they wanted $1,000 for my kid to go to a conference in California. And I said, look, I'm not allowed to talk to him. I miss him a lot. I can't even tell you I love him. But if my kid wants to go to conference, here's $1,000. I love my kid. Okay?
Right.
No, she goes to court. She says that I'm harassing the kid. I didn't talk to the kid. I sent $1,000 to a club, a business club, so you can go. And she cuts off my access to kids' records and texts from the school in this, right? Violating FERPA. Federal right. Prisoners get records. Violating the 14th Amendment, violating this. We call it retaliation for all my federal litigation against her. That's what we call it. Who does this? We file an appeal. So I am back in the hairs of Judge Shower. Okay, and feel free, anyone who wants to read the story, NewRochellePoliceAbuse.com. That's NEWROCHELLE, policeabuse.com. Feel free to read the story.
I'll put the link in the description as well, guys. It'll be in the description box.
We're not
worth
making
reading.
this up.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I was reading through the website last night, and there's some good information on there, dude. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's not cool what's going on, but yeah, you got some good stuff on there.
Cordell, we have a paper trail. And the other thing is, I will say, a lot of people told me the dumbest thing I ever did in my life was suing the cops. Because before Floyd, it was not popular to sue a cop. Some of my relatives, my best friend, some of my attorneys, some of my disability advocates, they said, you're suing a cop? He denied my aid. What was this setup? I had a visit. He's telling me I violated an order I never got. What is this? And guess what? That lawsuit lasted 6 years and 3 months. The judge dismissed it before getting all the foil on this stuff. He only got the top cover of the report. about the misconduct, and he dismissed it on the grounds, not that I wasn't disabled, not that I didn't ask for accommodation, but he said he's a former cop. He's a former cop, allowed a 6-year and 3-month loss against a fellow cop. Former South Bronx cop, 8 years, right? Allowed this to continue. He said, I can't use Mr. Fishman's word on those of his aides over police officers. Now he got all this foil. Well, now you got all this camera. I mean, we got all this information. So here's the beauty of it, Cordell. We have to become our own private investigators. You
Right.
have to be used to hearing the word no. Like
Right.
you're a dad. You get it. Can you
Yeah.
have the records? No. Can I visit my
Yeah.
kids? No. Can I
No.
send a gift?
Right.
No. Can I
No.
have the records
Yeah.
again? No. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm immune to word no from governments and insurance companies because that's what they say for the first year. Okay. Okay. What do you want to tell me? Okay.
Right.
So guess what? Our friends in the state senate and assembly and the governor, they made that investigation, my good friend Cordell, a public pattern investigation. You know what that means, Cordell? That means there is no interagency exclusion for FOIL. Let me say it again.
So
No
all
privacy.
agencies could investigate your case.
Normally, once agencies investigate, so if you have the Attorney General investigating the cops, normally that's private. You can't request a FOIL, Freedom of Information request, and get the information. It's exempted because it's private. But guess what, Cordell? Because all I do is get headaches and I'm up in the middle of the night reading and researching, this is a public pattern investigation. A public investigation is exempt from FOIL. There is no privacy for interagency because the interagency has the power to investigate publicly. The report's public, the investigator's public, the records are public. So what are we able to get after 6 months of getting the report? Oh, we got the individual letters. What do we know about Schlesinger? He's got 52 disciplinary records. What do you know about Schlesinger? He was put on desk duty 3 years before the report came out. What do you know about Schlesinger? Schlesinger, shut off his body cam several times during his arrests. When he did it with me, he had no body cam. What do you know about Schlesinger? Schlesinger started up with black people, minorities, and disabled people in Spanish. On and on and on. Derelict of duty. Wait a second. We got none of this. You guys said none of this existed. So it got to the point where the police chief was referring to the attorney general, and one of the instances was where Schlesinger was going to a hospital during COVID. Where his mother was at. He's going to Long Island. So Westchester's north of New York City. Long Island, for everyone knows, the Big Island. On the other side of Brooklyn and Queens. And Schlesinger goes to security. His mother's in a ventilation unit. No entry, no admission. And he says, I want to see my mother. I'm going in. Here's my badge. And he puts his hand on the gun. And he said, officer, you can't come in over here. He walks in anyway. Then he goes to second level of security. Sir, you can't come in here. It's a ventilation unit. You're not even wearing a mask. You can't come in here. It's dangerous for the other patients. It's dangerous for you too. You cannot come in here. He says, I'm a cop. I'm going anyway. He goes to the third one, says the same thing. They call the Long Island cops. He goes and talks to the mother. He finds the mother in the hallway. He doesn't have a mask on. They said, please put in a mask. Please put in a mask. Right? And he says to the security officer and the cops, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I got the written report. Wait a second. He don't care about public safety? The hospital had 5,000 people. He don't care about his mother's safety. He don't care about the fellow officers. And then they say, well, we're not going to arrest him. Why don't you arrest him? You and I did that. We got arrested. That's it. Right? Yeah. He was trespassing in an area that was restricted for a public health outbreak and bring in germs of a police officer in your vest and everything and not even putting a goddamn mask on and not only jeopardizing your mother, jeopardizing everyone, but he don't get arrested? Huh? Really? And this the guy who said he got me? No. You didn't get me. You didn't get me. Okay? We got you. And now you're fired. It cost him half his pension.
So did he get fired or
he got what we call terminated, because we got to use politically correct terms. Terminated. Yeah. He did 17 years and 8 months. If you have not reached 20 years, you don't get your full pension. So this man got terminated and lost $93,000 a year. He was making $184,000 salary because of my complaint and others. Because again, he's got the pattern here. It wasn't just me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He only gets half that. Why should he get anything? Look what he did to me. I haven't seen my kids. We believe he got a call from Judge Showers.
especially when you're dealing with anyone that's working within government in any way, because I don't care if you're a politician, if you're a police officer, if you're a fireman, whatever, you are a public servant, which means I'm sorry, but you have chosen to get into a field where you're going to be held to a higher standard than the rest of society. And as being a public servant, since it's our tax dollars that are funding you, you don't get the luxury of the same level of privacy that the everyday citizen gets because you chose to work in government in the public sector. So
Better yet, you don't get qualified immunity for
yeah,
disability discrimination. You
yeah,
have qualified immunity as a cop if you're out in the field, you're protecting safety, you're engaging your job, being an honest cop, like 80% of these cops are. But if you are the minority, 20% that fool around, take money, perform misconduct, write false arrest reports, this guy was accused of reading over 30 false arrest reports, including mine,
yeah.
okay, then you have no qualified immunity. You have no
No,
qualified immunity for denying a disability aid. You have no qualified immunity for denying the wheelchair into the courthouse. You have no
you should be
qualified
in
immunity
jail.
for
You
arresting
should be
people.
in jail. I mean,
You get sued under 1983 and
yeah.
under the ADA and Rehabilitation Act. So again, we only got dismissed for the ADA and Rehabilitation Act. They have still not discharged my criminal charges. That's pending. Hopefully that
So
happens this
that's
month.
pending right now. Okay, so how long do you have a rough idea on how long you think it's going to take to finish up this case with this police officer, or are you really not sure?
We're on appeal now with the police
Okay.
officer. Okay, on the ADA, the disability and disability rights stuff. We have an order from February 23 that says if I am acquitted or the charge is dismissed, 13 charges for false arrest, malicious prosecution, civil rights violation get restored. We wouldn't even need a motion.
Nice.
Just get restored.
Yeah.
So state court
Okay.
doesn't want to do this. Okay.
Right.
So the motion again is in front of a judge. I filed it pro se, okay, because I had attorneys, and I said to myself, you know what? If they're going to deny this motion against a disabled person, using the Attorney General report, using the video, using the audio, and now using the judicial record that I was kicked out of violence court. Cordell, if you know New York, once you go to violence court, whether you're violent or not, independent domestic violence, you don't go out. You're there till your kids age out. They threw me out of the
Yeah.
court. They threw me out of
Yeah.
court, right? And so what is it
Yeah.
saying? They said they basically quitted. By the way, there was no grand jury. There was no grand jury statement. There was no, you know what the arrest was? Officer Schlesinger's written statement that I went to the property. That isn't worth 2 cents or a piece of spit on the pavement. But we didn't tell you
Right.
about the other thing. Officer Schlesinger wasn't enough to get kicked out of violence unit. We didn't tell you about Officer Sean Kane, Officer Cocaine. So Officer Cocaine, Schlesinger's supervisor, was caught on his body cam taking cocaine out of his police vehicle and putting it in the wheel well of a personal trainer, Ivan Harper, last June 24. And he's caught on there, and he's
Yeah.
on the police radio saying, "Oh, we found the guy. The drugs on the car. The drugs in the car. We found the guy." And Officer Sean Cocaine Kane was
Yeah.
suspended. So who
Okay.
certified my arrest that it was accurate? That there's no camera
Yeah.
records, no police, no audio.
Right.
Oh, and the best one, Cordell, here's the best one. The first
Uh-huh.
question is Mr. Fishman supervised? Is this
Yeah.
incident supervised? Was the supervisor present? What do you think the answer, Cordell? Unknown. Cordell, in the video, they asked my supervisor, Ann Elliott, 9 times, are you the visitation supervisor? Yes. Yes. Wait a second. So Officer Slash signed it, said unknown, and Officer Cocaine signed the supervisor and everything's true and correct. Oh my God. Can we go back to kindergarten and learn what a yes and no answer is? So you're
Yeah,
telling me, come
it's they're
on.
all playing freaking hot potato or something, man. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. So, Mark, let me ask you this. I mean, with all this going on, what what do you want to see come out of all this? Like, what are you hoping to see? What are you hoping to achieve?
I need to receive, I need to, whoa, let me take a deep breath on this one.
Okay.
Not only reform, but we need the entire, family court bench in Westchester County removed. We need a federal monitors for civil rights. We need New York Human Rights to have jurisdiction over the court. They don't have jurisdiction over practices and policy. They have jurisdiction if you're a security guard, a court officer, and you can't hear and you need a hearing aid and they don't let you be a court officer, but no jurisdiction over policies and practices. Human rights law needs to have jurisdiction over this. Obviously, we need a review of all these cases. What we also need in New York is, unlike what you guys have in Washington State and California, Nevada, Florida, New Jersey, Illinois, we don't have a clear wrongful conviction act. So even though the Attorney
Mm,
General basically said my arrest was a lie and false, and someone should reverse it, can you imagine there's no form or procedure for her to go to the DA, Attorney
yeah.
General Tish, go to the DA and say dismiss this? You just like, okay, you got the report, do something with it. New York has the third highest amount of wrongful convictions in the U.S., the third highest, and our governor
Mm,
vetoed the wrongful conviction act. There's no mechanism. So it's unbelievable that we have this comprehensive law, but yes, what about the other convictions that Schlesinger and Officer Cocaine got? Each of them were 17-year veterans. How many?
yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
our
How many
DA?
lives have been
Who's our
destroyed?
DA? Our DA is Judge Susan Gachesi, the longest serving DA in Westchester County. And I asked her to recuse. As part of my motion, the judge denied it. I said, how could she be objective? We have records that Officer Cocaine testified 42 times in her courtroom as a judge. We have records that Officer Lane Schlesinger testified 20 times, and she's going to be objective? What are you talking about? All those convictions are going to be tossed. These people have no credibility. So the governor needs to come in, remove the DA, because the DA is not being objective. The DA is not investigating wrong convictions. She said she wouldn't investigate mine. Refused. Okay, why is it optional? Okay, you know what it's about, Cordell? I sued the judges for not giving me accommodations and won an order
All right.
that's 2 sentences
All
long.
right.
And then when I asked Judge Shower to recuse on that order, do you know what Judge Shower said? This reminded me of 8th grade. Guess what she said, Cordell? She said,
What?
Mr. Fishman, just like everything else you say is a lie, you are so mistaken. Your order against me to provide you with accommodations is only good in federal court. It's only good when you sue me in federal court. I said, Your Honor, let me take a look at the order. I said, it's got 3 sentences on it. You know, I have a cognitive impairment and I have a neurostimulator in my chest, head, and neck, but I still do have common sense. And guess what, Your Honor? It doesn't say it's only good in federal court. What line does it say it on? Mr. Fishman, everything you say is false. Everything is a lie. Okay. As I said before, you're never going to see these kids unsupervised. And as far as I'm concerned, you're never going to see them again. The parent alienation is because of you, and it's you, and everything's wrong, and you're not going to get your parent alienation hearing. Wait a second. I just got an order from your other judge saying, hey, you're not getting it. You can appeal me. I don't care. Okay. Everything is your fault. But guess what, Cordell? Okay, I'm used to hearing no. And
Of
my kids
course. Yeah.
our youngest are 16 going on 17, Sky and Aiden. Fishman, Daddy loves you. I'll fight for you till I'm dead. But this is not just about my kids. You know my good friend Jim
Yeah.
Shook. You
Amen,
know my
brother.
friend Marianne Petrie. Like a lot of my friends, Roman Brick and others, they got young kids, 10 and 9. We ain't stopping
Yep.
because my kids
Yep.
are age now. We're not stopping. Okay.
No.
We need reform. We need monitors. We need this exposed. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, we need to teach other people that's okay to hear the word no
Yep.
when you're fighting for your kids, but use every legal means necessary, including the best legal means you have. Okay. The pen and the paper. The pen is your sword, the paper is your shield, and public exposure is going to protect you. And you have rules like the
Yep.
ADA, never give up. And guess what? Did I think that I would have caused an attorney general investigation? I think I'd have foil from officers / supervisors saying he's the most unreliable cop he's ever supervised, and he's unreliable even to show up. And I have 9 records about how Schlesinger missed the subpoena for the attorney general Tish to depose him. Wait a second. You think I should be in jail for sending gifts to my kids or not filing order of protection? And we got Officer Schlesinger hanging out with Officer Cocaine, and we got the police chief. I'm happy to report, Cordell, last Thursday, Police Chief Gazzola, who hid the cameras and audio from me, was terminated. They called it retirement. We call it termination. Okay.
All
There is
right.
now
All right.
new leadership there. The first African
Okay.
American police officer, Mr. Neil Reynolds. I hope and pray that he brings fairness and civil rights back to New Rochelle. So for everyone that says,
Yeah.
"Oh, Fishman, you didn't win yet," okay, guess what? We have won a lot. We have
Yeah.
pierced judicial immunity. Okay, the judges only want to keep everything away from me because they want to delay the inevitable, which is their being evicted from the bench. The story's out. The
Yeah.
reports of Schlesinger and Kane are eventually going to come out. Someone's going to review wrongful convictions. We've alerted the state senate, and let
Well,
me tell you
Mark,
about it.
I respect the fact that you're just willing to put yourself through all this abuse and take all these slings and arrows because I mean, I don't know personally about your beliefs, but obviously it's Father's Gospel Podcast. Um, I wouldn't consider myself a stereotypical Christian, but like I believe Jesus, all that stuff, and I do believe right now, like we're living in a time where God is like really wanting people to step up and basically this is David versus Goliath, and it's time to take on Goliath. And I mean, I really am seeing more and more people step up. So it's just like you've got an incredible story, man. And I really appreciate the fact that you see the bigger picture. It's not just about you and your kids, it's not about me and my son. This is about getting this system fixed so our kids don't have to go through it. We can end this because this has been an issue for decades now in the family courts. And we can end this now and really just set up a better future because I believe that if we fix the family courts, it's going to have a ripple effect through society as a whole. You're going to start seeing the amount of men in prison start to go down because you're going to have more stable families because children are going to have easier access to their dads. You're going to see, this is like whether people are pro-choice or pro-life or whatever, like having more dads in homes, I think you're naturally going to see abortions go down as well because again, you're adding stability to society. And I just the positive effect this will have on our country and on our culture as a whole by getting our family courts fixed and dads back to their rightful place in the family is just it's just going to be a game changer. So anyways, yeah.
No, amen. And thank you for your advocacy and putting out there. You're totally correct. Except I'll tell you, in Westchester, I got a lot of moms who've been tortured by Judge Shower. She don't care
Oh
if you're a
yeah.
male or female. She once she hates you, that's it. And what I'll just add to that is I still have a lifetime order of protection against contacting any of my four kids. A criminal order of
Right.
protection. Oh, they
Right.
want to throw. It's not legal. Okay,
Yeah.
It's over 8 years, right? We know we'll overturn it, whether we got to go back to federal court. We also know that we believe we'll have our federal trial against the cops, and we know Judge Shower and her staff will be subpoenaed and have to testify. And guess what, Cordell? We don't have to make law. They already said there's no judicial immunity for denying accommodations to disabled people. The case is Tennessee versus Lane, ladies and gentlemen, 2004.
Yeah.
Okay. The state of Tennessee appealed to the Supreme Court. Judge Stevens authored it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer co-joined. It was 5-4. Okay.
Okay.
With Susan O'Connor, who was the Republican Reagan Democrat. And basically what it said was that the states, Cordell, meaning the state judges, the state actors, have no immunity for denying a disabled person access to a courtroom. And you say to yourself, why do we need a Supreme Court law? Well, Mr. Lane was a Vietnam vet, and Mr. Lane served his country honorably. God bless him. Okay, and he had no legs. And Tennessee and their, ultra biased discriminatory ways years ago, before they had reform and before we had these laws, the judge said to Mr. Lane, he says, "Sir, it's the last time I'm going to warn you that court is on the second floor. Your Honor, you have no elevator, and I got no legs." And he says, "Well, my officers can carry you." Carry you. If you don't let them carry you, then I'm going to hold you in contempt. He said, "I serve this country well. I have a dignity that you can have court on the first floor. Or you can put an elevator or an escalator or a ramp so I can access court." And the judge said to
Yeah.
him, "Son, you're pissing me off. You better use those long arms to climb up that rail to get to my second floor, because I'm going to throw you in jail." He did. He threw Lane in jail. So we had Tennessee versus Lane. Lane won in the lower federal court that the
Yeah.
court violated Title II of the American with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Right? Section 504 is how you win money, and Section 504 is stronger than the ADA. Most don't know it. It was signed under Nixon and Carter's term. And basically what it says, Cordell, if you're a government, state government, and you take money from the federal government, okay, like cops or like courts and state cops, you can't discriminate on all the classes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And guess what? So Mr. Lane won the low court. Tennessee appealed it. So unlike you and I, if we appeal to the Supreme Court, we have a 1.5% chance getting in. State of Tennessee or one of the 50 states appeals, it goes up to 55%. Supreme Court took the case, and it was a bellwether, and it said that when Congress voted on the American Disabilities Act, right? Okay, and when Congress voted on the Rehabilitation Act back then, right? Okay, so you had the two of these, right? That there was no exclusion for states, meaning state sovereign and state judicial immunity was subject to the ADA Rehabilitation Act. So let me clarify for your viewers. There's no judicial immunity for a judge administratively denying you access to the court. That's huge.
Yep.
In my case,
Yeah.
hearing or cognitively, other places physical. Now, but here's the problem, Cordell, because you and I know politics. Find another judge who's going to tell you another judge discriminated and put that in writing. They'll say,
Right.
oh, shit, I can't do that because I'm a judge. What if someone accuses me of that? So in practicality, it's hard as hell. But guess what? The federal Second Circuit, we got like 30 judges. And a group of them said, Judge Shower, give him the note taker, give him the accommodation. And they signed it with the clerk of the court, no individual name. So guess what, my good friend Cordell? Who cares who signed it? The clerk signed it. Great. You know? But guess what? New York State had 90 days to appeal it. They didn't. Oh, because if you appealed New York State, then you would have had the Supreme Court judges rule on. And guess what? Supreme Court judges in this recent case regarding an epileptic kid, I think it was called Oseo, Alt versus Oseo, 2 weeks ago. You know what they said? They said, again, states got no immunity. And they also said for the kid with epilepsy suing the state school district for denying a scheduling change because they have seizures in the morning and want to go to school in the later afternoon night, that the state has no immunity and that the student doesn't have to improve intent. That's how they've gotten away with these. They would say, oh, we didn't intend on denying Mark hearing accommodations. Oh, we didn't intend on denying the kid with epilepsy a scheduling change. You know what the Supreme Court said? I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them. All nine of our high court judges. God bless you. Yeah. They all said, ladies and gentlemen, state school district, the disabled person doesn't need to prove intent. We don't care what you were thinking. You deny them an accommodation. You know they're disabled. You know they need it. It's discrimination. That's it. Case closed. That helps us.
Yeah.
When state government, anything now. Because you just be like, oh, prove intent. Do you think I want to prove the intent of what's going on in Judge Shower's head? The thought of it gives me an anxiety attack. I don't want to be in her head.
No.
She's a mean, miserable person who loves discriminating against disabled people. You know, intent? I don't care about intent. She knows I'm disabled. Yeah. She denied the accommodation. Now she begins court by saying, okay, we're going to make sure Mr. Fishman has his closed captioning. Let's do a test. Oh, it's not big enough. Oh, I'm like, is this the same judge who threw me in jail for not remembering 7 years, 3 months ago? Like, she gives a crap about my accommodation. She wants me dead.
So, Mark, do you have a court date coming up anytime soon, or
we have an appeal now of Judge Shower denying the education records. We have a court date now on appealing that. We have court dates on terminating support, childcare, all that stuff. You know, we have more harassment. If you can imagine this, I'm a victim. My ex has been charging through child support $300 a month for a child care provider. So one of the attorneys that I frequent, she said, Mr. Fishman, do you know the child care provider you guys had that she retired? I said, what are you talking about? She said she retired. She witnessed a murder and she closed her daycare facility. I said, what? So we looked it up online. So my kids, we're going to this daycare provider. Her name is Tanette Mahan. Nice lady in New Rochelle. And in 2017, she retired because she walked into a home to go see a status of a daughter that she cared for after school. And she walked in, the father's there, and he's in the kitchen table, and she says, where's the kid? The kid's upstairs in bed. She goes upstairs, the kid in bed is in a pool of blood, dead. Horrible. Big trial. The father went to jail, horrible murder, right? She closed up shop. No one told this to me. I think she's still a daycare provider, $300 a month. No, your kids haven't had daycare since 2016. Where's my $42,000? Where's my $42,000? Here's my credit. Oh, you sue the judges? Screw you. You're not getting anything. Oh, no. I'll see you people in court. We'll see you in federal court. We'll go higher. I'm not paying, you know, and why do teenage kids need a babysitter? Babysitter for what? You know, this is what they do, Cornell. Oh, they say, you pay your own transcripts. You pay for transport your kids. To see my kids, the supervisors, Mr. Fishman, you need a limo. Why can't my aide drive them? No, you need a limo. A limo to drive back 12 minutes to their house in New Rochelle from Yonkers? Yes. Or you won't see your kids? Okay, I pay for the limo. What is this shit? Can I use the Accessoride,
Did
paratransit? I
they
got my
really?
card.
Did they? What is the limo? Is that a real thing? Did they really tell you the kids
Yeah,
need a
before Uber, like in 2018, right? They're like, your kids don't want to ride in a taxi. They want a limo. I said, why can't they use Accessoride? Oh, they're too embarrassed. My kid's autistic. You're teaching disabled people to be embarrassed?
Yeah.
Accessoride's free. The coordinator said he'll have them pick it up at the mall where we had the visits, drive the kids home. No, you won't see your kids. Okay. Well, they milk you for money. Limo, $100. What?
So
It doesn't
great.
end. It doesn't
Yeah.
end. And
It's
so, like
clown
you're
world.
saying, the disparate treatment is so bad. So I want to emphasize this point to you. I'm the last person. I would hide behind mom underneath the table at a social event. I didn't want to meet anybody. I was a shy kid. It was in
Right.
brain injury group therapy after I was jailed, and I would cry. And I brought my draft lawsuits. I kept on doing a draft, afraid to file. And they said, "This is good stuff. You've really modified it. You've just simplified it 25 pages. You got to file this." I said, "I don't want to go public. I don't want to tell people about my brain injury. I don't want to tell people about my implants." And two of my friends start crying, and they said, "You have to file because we lost our kids to traumatic brain injury, and we can't do it. You do it."
Yeah.
Because that was that moment where I said, I got to do it because my type of brain injury allows me to have a big mouth, and I'm not afraid of court, and I'm not afraid of them locking me up. They did that already. But two of my friends died of a brain bleed.
Yeah.
But they
No,
got to see
man.
that federal order, and that judge discriminated in his order to provide the accommodations. And there's a lot of people out there who are disabled who cannot fight for themselves,
Right.
and a lot of vets. And thank you for having me on because, we don't talk about the story of how a lot of vets have a very similar condition of mine. They have the
Right.
tinnitus and they talk loudly and they don't realize they're talking loudly and they may sound antagonistic or rough, or they may sound quote unquote abusive. They don't hear. I had to learn to hear again and coordinate with my memory. And people are like, well, what do you mean? Well, I had tinnitus in the ear and TMJ and a cracked jaw and severed nerves. So I mean, I would talk into a recorder and at therapy at Columbia University, for 3 years, one of my speech therapists. And I said, that's not me. I don't sound like that. No, they sound like that. That's you. And they finally convinced it. They said, we don't understand what the hell you're saying. I said, well, something wrong with you. I understand what I'm saying fine. They said, exactly. But no one else does. And you're getting into communication problems. And slowly we would do breathing exercises. We would do reading exercises. We would do repetition. And then they said, Mark, it's going so well with you. We want to teach this for other people who suffer with traumatic brain injury. Can we bring students to your treatment? I said, bring everyone. And we bring students, professors, and they alternate giving me therapy. And, it helped me with poise. It helped me be clearer. I was so tangential. I'd tell a story, you'd be on Earth and you'd think we were in Jupiter. So I want to tell you, I've gotten a lot of help. And to thank those people who gave us help, and to thank particularly the lot of veterans I went to rehab with, a lot of other people had brain bleed, stroke. You had to go public. You got to stop this. I will say this:
Yes.
I was part of the Robin Powell study at the Brandeis Center for Disabilities, Brandeis University. One of the 44 families interviewed on disability. I think about my autistic kid who really wanted to see me and differed with his other three siblings, and then denying me access during COVID. And that's what caused the separation. You can't have physical access. You'd have virtual, and the disabled kid was the only kid who would attend it. The other kids wouldn't. And then it's like, okay, well, they don't want to do it with terminating for everybody. And this is how they taught you over and over. They torture over you. But I tell you, if you are disabled and you're a father and mother trying to get access to your kid and you're caught in family court, you have no chance. You have an 82%
Yeah.
chance of losing your kids. That's got to end. With accommodations, we
Yeah.
can do anything. Okay. I fought for the accommodations. I just showed the judge what you said, the camera and the audio. Or what I said is the best weapon I've used against Judge Shower, the goddamn mirror. I don't need to talk about anything
Yeah.
you do, Judge. Look at the way you talk to me. You talk to me like I'm a serial rapist, monster terrorizer. I'm a dad with TBI trying to see his kids who's never hurt anybody.
Well, honestly, that's what these people do is I mean, I think they know it deep down inside, but I don't think people realize is these people are literally projecting what they are actually doing behind closed doors on to you, you know, and other individuals. I mean, a lot of the skeletons in a lot of these people's closets, it's like if you were to find out, I'd be like, oh Lord.
But I can tell you, as a result of my action, a lot of people can bring a note taker into the courtroom. As a result of my action, you've helped a lot of the populations. I thought that disabled people and veterans had it worst. No, Cordell. If you are a lawyer in New York getting divorced, oh, the judges torture you.
Mm.
I was able to help a lot of lawyer friends get a note taker, get an aid, get extra time, get
Why do you
witnesses in
think
the
that
courtroom.
is with the lawyers? Why do you think they torture the lawyers?
Oh, come on. It's so stereotypical. It's so how should we say part of the whole game, right? Some of
Okay.
these lawyers won against the judge. Some of these lawyers embarrassed the
Um,
judge.
right,
Think about
right,
it.
right.
You're a judge,
Okay.
you're in front of the
Yeah.
courtroom. If you're a good lawyer, you win, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Totally.
won against my friend Mr. Smith. Oh, now you're mine. Oh, your ass is mine.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, Mark, dude, thank you, man, for coming on the show. I do need to end it, but before we end it, where can people find you? And are you interested in people reaching out to you?
We are definitely interested. New Rochelle policeabuse.com.
Okay.
We have a letter there to Judge Williams encouraging him to dismiss charges against me. We have several of the videos talking about the story about accommodation cops. Please tell us your story. If you've had problems and if you've been denied accommodations, let us know. We're working with other attorneys in other states to start class actions and legal actions. Certainly in New York, if you have an incident in Westchester, we want to know about it. And just in general, we want to be here to listen and help. And prevent this from happening to anyone again, and also help you get accommodations. If you need them, accommodations are free. You shouldn't have to pay for them. You know, so
Yeah.
Cordell, thank you for having me on, and thank you
Yeah.
for all your advocacy. Listen, I'm the last person who ever thought I would be in this type of fight, but as you
Well,
said,
I want
it's
to
a
get you
lifelong
back
fight.
on the show. I want to get you back on the show definitely because you've definitely, I can tell, man, you're a sharp guy. You've got a brilliant mind and you've got an interesting backstory and you tell your story really well. And also if you're interested, I've got some other people that I'd like to introduce you to.
Please,
I don't know how interested you are as far as working on stuff on the legislative side in your state, but I've got some people on the legislative side I'd like to definitely introduce you.
absolutely. We've drafted a law and circulated to 11 state senators
Oh, sweet.
to
Okay.
amend the LEMIO to
Yeah.
require the attorney general to notify the DA every
Okay.
time a cop is labeled pattern misconduct and to look at all the wrongful convictions. We've now circulated, and we need support, and we need, as you're aware, awareness, circulation, and public, as you're saying, exposure, because as you're saying, most people won't give the time for me to explain a story like this. It isn't necessarily black. They'll just say, "Oh, it's too complicated. You can't go on TV." You know,
Right.
and we need that because, I think in most cases, most people still tell you they don't know who Lane Slasher was. In Westchester, everyone will tell you about Officer Cocaine, you know, because there's a video. But the point is that what about all the other people who don't even know that Officer Kane was suspended and Officer Slasher was terminated and the police chief was forced out because of all this, that you can get your conviction reversed. Maybe that's
Right.
affecting you from getting a job, or maybe that's affecting you from being a nurse or being a teacher
Right.
because you can't win order protection. So the point is raise awareness. It's amazing. The attorney general has no problem talking about a president and alleged hookers. Letitia James had no problem. Why aren't you talking about Lane's last year? Why aren't you doing a press release, Letitia James, for the 34 people pattern misconduct cops? Why do you hide it on your website? And I have the link on newrochellepolice.com. You make it so hard that you need to be a
Yeah.
rocket science to look at 75B findings and look there and then look by. It's like, goddamn, why is it so complicated? Why
Yeah.
don't you go out and say, we're proud that we identified pattern misconduct cops? No, she has it hidden because guess what? She protects dirty cops. Let's be honest.
Right.
Any other
Yeah.
attorney general would say, I got investigations on 27 cops and we got them labeled, we got them fired or retrained or rehabilitated. No, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about hookers for an ex-president. What? Who cares? I don't care what someone does in their
Right.
bedroom, you know? But I
Yeah.
care if police
Right.
misconduct arrested my friend and he makes false arrests as a pattern and ruin his life.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, all right, Mark. we'll let you go. But dude, yeah, thank you. We're gonna get you on the show here soon again. And yeah, just keep up the good fight and we'll talk soon, brother.
Keep it up. Keep up the gospel.
All
Amen.
right, man. God
Cheers.
bless, man. Later.